Audible lets you enjoy all of your audio entertainment in one app. You'll always find the best of what you love or something new to discover. Hey, Ronnie, what have you been listening to on Audible lately?
Well, you know, I love some wellness in my life.
Yes.
I read a lot of books that help me, and especially because it is a new year, okay? So I've been really working on my habits. So I've been working on Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's the title I'm really into right now. It's my New Year's title. And guess what? I'm already habitually, atomically better.
Great. Well, here's something to also make you better. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/crappins or text crappins to 500-500.
Wondery's new podcast, Dis and Tell, wades into the glorious mess of celebrity beef. Each episode explores a different iconic celebrity feud and asks, what does our obsession with these feuds say about us? Follow Dis and Tell wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen ad-free on the Amazon Music or Wondery app.
There's so much that happens. Watch what happens. Who cares what happens when there's so much that happens? Hello and welcome to Watch What Crappens, a podcast about all that crap on Bravo and beyond that we just love to talk about. I'm Ben Mandelker, and joining me here today is the one and only Mr. Ronnie Karam. Hi, Ronnie. How are you?
Well, hello, Ben. Doing well. How's it going today?
I'm extremely excited about today's episode. I'm bursting at the seams about it because we're going to talk about the Traitors. Before we get into it, go get your tickets for the Golden Crappies 2024 Golden Crappies. It's going to be February 17th in downtown Los Angeles. Thanks to everyone who's already bought tickets. A whole bunch of you have. It's great. We have some great guests already lined up. It's gonna be a blast. We have a blast every single year. It's a great time to bring the whole community together, from listeners to content creators and everything in between. So get your tickets. People have been asking us about streaming. We don't have any answers on that front yet, but as soon as we do, we will give a definitive answer on whether or not it will be streamed. But for right now, if you're going to be in town, or if you're planning on coming to town, or you're planning on just taking a trip, come to the Crappies. It'll be so fun. So that's that. Also, we're on Crappens on Demand, which we pretty much are on every single day. So go to patreon.com/watchforcrappens. You can watch our beautiful faces with the Crappens on Demand. So hello, everyone. That being said, okay, so this week we're going to dive into the Traitors US. The new season dropped on Friday on Peacock. We're not doing like full recap because it's 3 episodes. We're not going to take notes on 3 episodes. But like, oh my God, this show is so good. What did you think about the first 3 episodes, Ronnie?
So funny. Their casting.
Oh, and spoilers
are
going to happen. This is your last chance.
Yeah, we're recapping
Spoiler
the first
alert.
3 episodes. If you haven't watched them, don't listen to this because we're going to say everything that happened in those episodes. Yeah, it's not a spoiler if it's in a recap. Okay, suckers?
Yeah.
So go away and come back when you are prepared. What a funny show. My God. Really good. I was involved the whole time. I find sometimes when I'm watching stuff outside of work, I really need to only watch murder shows. It's hard for me to get into another reality show sometimes, but this one is so good. I love season 1. I love this one. Great casting.
I know. Wonderful casting. This is like an all-star reality show grouping. Like, this is just one of the most amazing casts for reality fans of all time. You've got like major stars from obviously our world of Bravo, but also in the worlds of The Challenge and Big Brother and Survivor and even some other places. So it's just like, it's such a thrill. But you know what I love? I love that now 2 years in a row, it's been the women of Bravo who have been able to sniff out the traitors first. Like, no traitor has been officially, no one has been banished yet. No traitors have been banished. But last season, I rewatched the first 3 episodes of last season. And it was Brandy and Kate Brandy especially, was immediately on to Cirie and Cody, I believe, or maybe even Michael. But like, she sniffed it out really quickly. And this season, MJ and, dare I say it, Larsa took a moment, but Larsa, they both are like, pretty sure it's Dan. So like, Bravo ladies, they have an intuition.
They do. And there's enough housewives that they can all band together this year, which I really like too, because they do. And it's nice to see some girl power when, housewives are kind of known for that, I guess, but they're not really known for the girl power part. They're known for the fighting part. So maybe we'll get to that later. But right now, it's good to see them banding together and just getting these guys out. Now, for those of you who don't know how this show works, basically a bunch of reality people are put into a big mansion with Alan Cumming, and who dresses crazily. And that's like his thing. He just dresses like insanely, and then talks in a very thick Irish accent. So he's super fun,
Scottish,
and they all get in there, and basically he walks around a table and with everybody blindfolded, and he decides 3 people are going to be the traitors, and so they have to go around and murder, quote unquote, the rest of the cast, and the other cast has to guess who the bad people are. And obviously, if they pick a traitor, the traitor is out. But otherwise, they pick someone to murder every night.
It's basically the party game Mafia put into reality show form. And so there's a section where the traitors eliminate someone, and then there's a section where the group is trying to suss out who is not one of the faithful. The faithful are the good people, and then they banish someone. And then in between all this, there's usually some sort of challenge. Probably the thematically weakest part of the show is trying to how the challenges make sense, because it's they're all trying to raise money for the pot of money at the end, because either the traitors are going to win it or the faithful are going to win the money. But there's no motivation. There's an implication that the traitors are going to undermine the challenge, but that's actually not the case whatsoever. There's no motivation for anyone to undermine the challenge. So the challenges just sort of happen, just like a thing to do. But this season, they layered in this element that every challenge, there are these 3 shields that protect you from being murdered by the traitors. So you get to see who is going to be working for the group versus who is going to be selfish. So that's cool. I like that element.
Yeah. So they also got a lot of evil people this time. Whereas I feel like before, at least half the cast this time could be traitors. They're all kind of villains. But I was surprised that they actually picked villainous people to be the traitors, because normally it's let's pick nice people, But this time they picked someone who's won Big Brother twice, Dan, and who's kind of evil. And Dan has we'll go through the cast basically and tell you who everybody is and what our thoughts are. And hopefully it'll lead us just to talk about everything that happened eventually. But they make Dan a traitor. Dan's thing on these shows, it's always made me crazy. Dan explains everything. And they, on Big Brother, on all the reality shows, you have the confessional in the diary room where you're supposed to be explaining to the audience what's happening, right? But Dan just has this way of here's how it's going in this game. This is what this game's about. Right. And he's just always talking to you like you're a fucking idiot. And he talks, and granted, he's from Big Brother. Everybody around him is a fucking idiot. And he gets on my goddamn nerves, Dan. Okay. And I feel like a lot of times he wins just because he's surrounded by such stupid people, and he tricks them very easily. But that said, I've watched his seasons and I got to hand it to him. He's great. He deserved the wins for sure. So I don't want to take anything away from him. I just wanted to get some Dan-splaining in there, because it does get
We could take one thing away from him, which is that he actually only won 1 season, and he was the runner-up for the second time around.
So, but didn't they say on this show that he's won twice?
Someone incorrectly said that, but he was the runner-up, because remember, Ian, his protege, the kid won. Ian. Spoiler. So there is that, but he is still an excellent player, and he did have an amazing, Dan's funeral was an epic thing in Big Brother. For people who watch Big Brother, they just know what it is. I don't have to say what it is. So he is a really good game player. But what's funny is that he and several other people, especially the Big Brother and the Survivor people, are oh well, we play these games. We know what it's like. The other people are on reality TV, but we're the ones who are used to playing these games. But the funny thing is, Dan is evil, so he's a traitor, and he is talking so much about how he knows how to play these games. He is the one that people are suspecting of those traitors. He is the one they're suspecting the most right now. He's the one that they're oh, it's Dan, right? He's really quiet. Even Marcus Jordan is suspicious of Dan. He's like, Dan, you're the only one who's just like not saying anything. It just looks sort of weird. And then they go and they kill Marcus. It's like, this is, you don't say that you're good at these games and then you're going to do the most obvious thing, which is kill the person who questions you. Like, it does not make any sense.
Right. Well, unfortunately for Dan, people are not as stupid on this game. And this is like half Bravo people, and we're saying that, okay?
Yeah.
But they're not as stupid on this game as they are on Big Brother. Big Brother, you just kind of sit back and wait for everybody to create enough drama and turn against each other, and then they go home. On this one, you kind of do the same thing, but if you don't create any drama, they notice what you're doing. Like, it's extremely obvious what you're doing, and that is what Dan does. And every time they ask Dan, like, who do you think it is? He's like, well, I just choose like to not think of it like that because I'm like quiet. So, what this game is about for me is like, it's what this game is about, right? So like you got to just like look around and like and he's not saying anything. And people are like, wait a minute, the rest of us are getting kicked off and nominated because we all have an opinion. And this fucker's sitting here with no opinion and getting away with it. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. But the best part about, well, not the best part, but like the thing that I loved with the show is that they selected Fedra to be the other initial traitor. And like Fedra is like such a great choice because as it stands right now, Fedra doesn't tell us anything on her shows. Fedra is like an impenetrable wall. She always has been. We like her because she's shady, but do we know anything about, do we really know anything about Fedra? No, because she will often just be like, like Fedra.
That's what she does.
Fedra, tell me about what it's like growing up.
And nods and just goes, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Fedra, tell us what it was like growing up. And she'll, oh, that is a story. Mm-hmm. And that's like that's all she does. And so she can get away with doing this on this show. And it doesn't seem like she's being quiet. It's just like Fedra, she can just, anytime anything happens, they're like, Can you believe they killed Peppermint? And she'd be like, ooh, wow, the killers are out tonight. And they're like, yes.
Well, she also says nothing, but she does everything funny in a funny way. So people laugh and they take it as an opinion, even if she's not really giving an opinion. It's very funny. It's actually very smart. And Fedra has been such a traitor on her own seasons. I mean, we just saw on Married to Medicine. She's from Atlanta, but she's currently on Married to Medicine. And her whole thing on Married to Medicine was how she was the only one still close to Quad. And then she saw that that was not going to benefit her from her. That was not going to benefit her because everybody else on the show was like, we're getting rid of Quad. And she turned on Quad. She fucking betrayed Quad and stabbed her right in the back with all the other girls right on the show. And then just like nodded and did the squint thing like, well, sorry. And you don't even have to do that. That's not even a show about kicking people off. I mean, she does this for fun.
Yeah, they literally had a traitors roundtable on Marriage Medicine, and that's not part of the show. But I think Fedra is such a great choice because like there's so many villains, but she is such a good choice to be like a traitor. I think she's going to fly under the radar. I think she's going to be great. Dan already has some suspicion on him. And once you have any sort of heat on you, it's hard to get rid of it. And, part of it, the show kind of did Dan a little dirty because the show, in a challenge, and I think the first challenge, they had to like carry scarecrows all over the estate. And part of carrying the scarecrow was there were like survey questionnaires that were like, who do you trust the most? Or who is the quietest? Or who is not speaking enough? And so, like, one of the options was like Dan or someone else. And so it really put a spotlight on the fact that Dan is being really quiet. So the show is kind of putting some heat on Dan. I think that was intentional because last season the traitors more or less had an easy job, and I think the show is going to try to kind of like keep it even in terms of like, not letting the traitors have as much of a cakewalk.
Yeah, they were very good reality producers on the show because they do stir the shit all the time. They're like, oh, look at Dan, the most popular one. And then they had one like, who's the most popular? Peppermint or who is the other one? Deontay? Is that his name? What's the
Deontay, yeah.
boxer's name? Yeah, Deontay.
Deontay.
And Peppermint's like, hello, me. First of all, why would anybody choose anybody other than a drag queen? Of course, the person from
Peppermint.
RuPaul's Drag Race is going to be the most popular. I don't know how anybody thought that she wouldn't be, but everybody was like, no, it's not her, because the resident Karen of the group, Trishelle,
Oh my God,
which, what a
Trishelle.
shock. So let's start there. So
Yeah, this is the thing.
this starts immediately. It's like the blonde lady in the fucking beret, you know, and then the second she's called out, starts crying and making a big deal out of it, like she's the victim. But they're sitting around kind of joking together, and Peppermint goes, well, listen, I don't want to get kicked off because I've brought so many amazing outfits that I want to show you guys. And everybody kind of laughs, you know, because it's funny. And Trishelle goes, oh my God, me too. And then she goes, yeah, so, I mean, I have a lot of outfits too. So if somebody murders me tonight, I guess we know who it is. Haha. And Peppermint just goes, oh, what girl?
Yeah.
That's it.
Peppermint's like, oh my God. Like, that's like, it was like a completely normal reaction that was like, oh my God, girl, that was shady. But it was like, that was it. And first of all, by the way, Trishelle, why would Peppermint kill you? Because Peppermint wants to show off her outfits. Like, you guys could both show off your outfits together. Like, that made
Well, I think she
Trichelle's
was
joke
joking,
didn't even make
like,
sense.
you're trying to be the fashion queen, but I'm the fashion queen. So if I get knocked off, I guess it'll be you. Like, I got what Trishelle was saying, but Peppermint, her reaction was just like, girl. It was like silly. It was normal.
Mean.
Right.
It was totally normal, but I guess Trishelle was paranoid about it. Maybe she was like in a heightened state of paranoia of like, oh my God, like anything you say can be used against you. So she's like, you know, God, that was weird. Like, I feel like I just, you know. So first she's like saying like, that was weird. That was weird, that reaction. But then the next day, there's, they all gather at breakfast. And Trishelle's like, oh, well, I made it to breakfast, so I guess I have to address the elephant in the room, which, by the way, there was no elephant in the room. There was like nothing even close to an elephant. So she's like,
well,
guys,
there was because she was going around reading Babar to everybody the night before. Fucking Trishelle. She was going to everybody going, oh my God, Peppermint just came for me because I said something about fashion. And then she got so mad, you guys. Like, literally, I said, you're going to murder me. And then she got so mad at me. I mean, typical Karen shit. Making it out to be that Peppermint, like, had this huge reaction, which she absolutely did not. And listen, part of it is the traitors. You're supposed to turn people against each other, and I get that. But this is typical, like, oh my God, take one non-reaction and turn it against somebody when they didn't even mean that. It was shitty. It was super, super shitty. And good thing for Max from Dancing with the Stars, who turns out to be an awful player later. Also, he comes to this cast with kind of a, oh, yeah, boys. He's kind of doing this talk like this. It's like, I don't know that I feel that same way that I feel about her and everyone else does. I feel like it's a kind of a gang up, guys. I don't know where he's doing this voice from. But anyway, he's the only one who sees that this lady is obviously being a Karen, and this is not cool because immediately everybody starts believing Trishelle and being like, let's get her.
Yeah. It would have been one thing if Trishelle was like, hey, I'm going to just try to, like, you know, I will create suspicion on anyone but me because I don't want to be in the middle of this. But she was not doing this from a strategic point of view. She was, and I bet in interviews later on, whenever she does her interviews for this, she will say that's why she was doing it. But this was purely like, she read rage and she read danger off of Peppermint. It was a full-on microaggression. Everyone, like, you could just see it. I was uncomfortable watching it. I was like, this is crazy. And then she escalates it. She brings it up to the breakfast. Breakfast is where everyone convenes in the morning because Johnny Bananas is voted out first. They kick off Johnny Bananas first, which is a strange choice, I thought, but whatever. And she brings it up to the group, and now the whole group is suspicious of Peppermint, and it's based off of literally nothing. And I mean, this is sort of the best part of the show, but also like this is the part of the show that is also, unfortunately, like when you see how it applies in real life, how often this happens, it's kind of like a sad commentary. But like, Trishelle says she has this moment, and then everyone suddenly just doesn't trust Peppermint. And I'm like, how does where did that distrust come from? And why did anyone who was in that conversation not say, I was there, Peppermint had no reaction. This is Sheree's fault too, I think, in some ways, because Sheree was there, and Sheree should have said, Peppermint did not have any sort of reaction, and I don't know what Trishelle is talking about. But Sheree kind of was like, well, I didn't see it. It didn't seem that way to me, but whatever, you know? Like, why? Where were Peppermint's defenders?
Because Trishelle just takes it to this next place. You're like, did I miss something? Did Peppermint really get? And it's not only a black thing, it's also a gay thing, because it is a very
or trans.
It is a thing where, you know, when you're in the gay community, where, listen, I do speak like, that's like my, I am sarcastic about everything, but I've been in a lot of situations where people are just jumping all over, like, oh my God, he was being so bitchy, he was being so mean, and it's like,
right.
But I wasn't. Like, that was me being nice. I didn't even say anything mean. Not comparing it, but I did think of that with her, because I was like, oh God, because some of these people are probably like, oh, well, she was probably just being really vicious. And it's like, you guys can't have a fucking person from RuPaul's Drag Race that's not allowed to be sarcastic with you. Like, that's not fair.
Exactly.
That everybody's just going to jump all over like the famous drag queen for being sarcastic and having an attitude. That's the point, you fucking idiots.
Yeah, and by the way, also, like, it's hilarious because people don't, it seems like a lot of people don't think about, like, if you were a traitor, how would you act? Are you going to act squirrely? Probably not, unless someone's onto you. If otherwise, you're going to act actually pretty quiet, and you're going to be pretty chill. You're going to be kind of relaxed because you know where everything is. Not relaxed. You only get nervous when people start to figure you out. Like Cody last season, once he messed up and then the heat was on, he became like a wreck. But generally speaking, when you play these games, if you're a bad guy and you sort of like understand what's going on, there's like a little bit of an ease with the way you can move around, because you can just push things off onto other people. And so people are like, oh, that person's acting nervous and suspicious. It's like the people who act most nervous, the people who act like the wildest usually are the ones who are actually the innocent ones. But they don't seem to realize that. They don't put that two and two. So they're like, oh my God, Peppermint had a reaction. Definitely a traitor. Like, what traitor is going to have a reaction like that and just blow their cover? Like, no one thinks about that.
It's time for a commercial. It's time for a Crappens commercial.
Being an actual royal is never about finding your happy ending. But the worst part is, if they step out of line or fall in love with the wrong person,
it changes the course of history.
I'm Arisha Skidmore-Williams.
And I'm Brooke Sifrin.
We've been telling the stories of the rich and famous on the hit Wondery show, Even the Rich, and talking about the latest celebrity news on Rich and Daily. We're going all over the world on our new show, Even the Royals.
We'll be diving headfirst into the lives of the world's kings, queens, and all the wannabes in their orbit throughout history. Think Succession meets The Crown meets real life.
We're going to pull back the gilded curtain and show how royal status might be bright and shiny, but it comes at the expense of, well, everything else. Like your freedom, your privacy, and sometimes even your head. Follow Even the Royals on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Even the Royals early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
So they go to the roundtable thing, and of course, Trishelle's like, well, Peppermint gave me all this attitude. Nah. Peppermint's like, no, I didn't. What the hell? And then everyone's, immediately, because also the show, if someone else is in trouble, part of that is like, you just go with it because it's not you, right? And it's better somebody else. And it happens every week. So they immediately just start going for Peppermint, and it sucked. So they get rid of. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say they get rid of Peppermint, but then Trishelle then starts to cry, be like, "Oh my God!" But what was funny is the alternate to Peppermint, as a side thing. There's a British politician on the show randomly, like amongst all these reality stars. I don't know if this guy has John Burkow. I don't know if he's appeared on British reality shows, but there's this older British man on this show. And when the traitors were being selected, I guess he's not a traitor, but I guess he was breathing weird. And he's sitting next to Janelle from Big Brother. Janelle continues to be my favorite. Oh God, I love Janelle. And so Janelle's like, hey, John, I noticed just now that you started to breathe strangely. Why were you breathing strangely? And he's like, oh, well, I happen to be a little bit asthmatic. And so, you know, I had a little bit of, I was asthmatic in my youth and I had some trouble breathing or whatever. So then they do this whole challenge with the scarecrows that we talked about. And they're running around. And John, by the way, the funniest runner, the way he runs was my favorite. But he's running. And so Tamra, I was like, God, Tamra's so evil, but God, this is such a good showcase for her. And
well, it's also not fair of them to give Tamra a scarecrow challenge. I mean, like, what the hell? Of course she's going to win that.
But while they're running, Tamra's like, hey, John. She's like, John, do you have an inhaler? Because I forgot mine, which was so clever. I mean, it was barking up the wrong tree, but like, God, that was a clever way to get that information out.
They're just so silly. They're coming after an older guy for how he breathed. I mean, I was cracking up because they all blindfolds on in that section that they accused him of the funny breathing. And Alan's walking right behind them and like Mrs. Peacock's costume, scaring the hell out of them, slowing down, and everyone's a little freaked out. But you've got this guy's like, it's him. He did it.
Yeah. So Tamra is like, she feels like she found the smoking gun. And while Peppermint is being interrogated by Trishelle, we pivot for a moment and Tamra's like, well, British bitch, you were breathing weird and I caught you with the inhaler thing. And so this guy, watching this British politician try and do the British politician thing to Tamra, and Tamra's will have none of it. And she just keeps grilling him. And I was like, Tamra, you are evil, but oh my God, you are so good at what you do. Like, I was like, she's
like, I've been a wig since junior high, bitch. Don't fuck with me.
she was being so, I mean, she was just like handling this guy. And I was like, I am gaining a new level of respect for Tamra in her awfulness. I'm just like, he could not, he's used to arguing with other politicians. He is not used to arguing with like reality star villains.
Yeah, I mean, especially Tamra. I mean, Tamra really is a special case. Okay, so there was that, and then Max. So the next morning, well, who's the first person they kick off besides Peppermint? Because there was someone that,
Johnny
They
Bananas,
kicked off Johnny
Bananas.
Well, this one was Dan because they had not named a third traitor yet. So Fedra and Dan find out that they're each traitors and they're talking it over. And Dan immediately wants to get rid of an alpha, of course. And Phaedra's like, well, we do have to win these challenges to make money. That's kind of the point. Like, we do need, he's really good at physical challenges, but Dan's like, no. So they get rid of Bananas. Then Peppermint was next. So after they get rid of Peppermint, Trishelle's like, oh my God, you guys, like, that's so sad about Peppermint. And Max goes, yeah, but you know that you're the one who caused that, right, kid? You're the one who caused it. And she's like, what? And then she starts her tears and like runs off like she's the big victim. Fuck this lady.
Fuck
Trishelle.
My
God, fuck Trishelle. And also, what a non-shocker. Sorry to go back in on Trishelle, but I wanted to
please do. All the time.
Max caught
we have
her.
all the time to do that.
I really like that Max totally was onto her from the very beginning. And Max, we don't have a ton of great things to say about Max because otherwise he's pretty much a dummy. I mean, so people go into all these mansion rooms and start having conversations. And of course, most of them are whispering about strategy or whatever, but people walk in and then you go, oh, hey, Max walks into every room and goes, whoa, hurry, and then starts slowly backing out of the room. And they're like, Max, you can come in. He's like, nope, you guys go ahead.
But by the way, like it looked ridiculous, especially to these dum-dums. But the truth is, they're so dumb to think that that's traitor behavior because a traitor actually wants to sit with people and listen in and find out what's going on. So the fact that he actually keeps on leaving conversations should actually exonerate him in some way, but they don't think like that. They're just like, oh, look at him acting strange. He must be a traitor. Meanwhile,
it's hard to know because it's just the beginning of the game. So it's not like a real murder show where you're like, okay, who has the motive or who has the history, or you can't go off anything real. It's just arbitrary, So at first, no one really knows what to go off of. And it is really so funny watching human nature. I mean, the second anybody who has the guts to say something against somebody else, it's like they might as well have just murdered them, because they do get everybody. You really see that mob mentality, everybody coming for the one person that has any kind of suspicion.
That's why this show is so good. Like, I have some friends over in my board game world who don't like the show whatsoever because they're like, ugh, like the strategy. People are not using strategy, and like there's no real gameplay here. I'm like, but that's not the point. The point is like, how do people act in these situations? Like watching mob mentality take over. Like, who is going to be the one who's finally going to have logic? Who's going to start like thinking in a different way and start putting pieces together? That's where it's like so exciting. A major thing that happened in this season in the beginning is that Alan Cumming picks two traitors, and he walks by. They're all blindfolded in a circle. He walks by. He picks two traitors, but then the traitors learn that Dan and Fedra learn that they have to recruit a third traitor. So there's a lot of questioning of like, who are they going to pick? So the ones that they are considering are Parvati from Survivor, Sandra from Survivor, who I love Sandra. Who are the other two that they were thinking about bringing on board as traitors? Do you remember? There were like one or two others.
I feel like they went Janelle.
Janelle.
Did you say her already?
No, I think Janelle. Basically, Dan was pushing for all like CBS reality stars, I think. Like there may have been
pretty
someone
much.
else.
But I couldn't tell how many people they were just kind of naming because the producers were like, name this person, name that person.
Right.
But when he was saying Janelle, I like Janelle because she will do anything to win. I think he was also like, I'm killing her.
Yeah.
I don't know that Dan really does want to team up with another Big Brother person. I think that it's really important for him to beat that person, which, listen, it's a game, so more power to him.
Yeah, totally. Actually, did they consider, CT? I think they also considered CT. So what was fun, so they ultimately decide that they're going to bring Poverty into their ranks, which is, Poverty is really good at this stuff. But I was a little surprised.
It's hilarious. I've always thought it was Parvati, but Poverty is your name. Why would you name your child Poverty? Listen, we always tell our listeners, don't name your children goal names like this is my daughter Wealth or this is my daughter Hope, because that gives people unfair expectations. But to name your child Poverty, like, come on, let's find a middle ground.
That may have been my mistake. I think it's actually Parvati, but it still sounds quite a bit like Parvati. But it sounds quite a bit like Poverty. I think the name is, I don't know, it might have some significance. I think it's probably might be like Hindu or Buddhist or something like that. But definitely in the world of like sort of like CBS reality shows, it is kind of funny. So
by the way, can I say, first of all, check your text that I just sent you because it has like a little link there. But Poverty looks just like a young, and she also talks like her, just like a young Annette Bening. Does anybody else see that? Because she's new to me, so I didn't know really anything about her. But she is like Bugsy age Annette Bening. It creeps me out because I love Annette Bening. But I was like, oh my God, she wins. She wins in my mind. I love her.
So I was a little surprised that they went with Poverty only because when they initially were Wooder.
Did Poverty get Wooder?
Poverty. Can Poverty get Wooder? When they initially were choosing traitors, when Alan Cumming was tapping people, when they put their blindfolds down, Larsa was sitting next to Poverty, and she goes, so I have like really good hearing, and I definitely heard like Alan Cumming.
It's like supersonic. I've got like supersonic really hearing, guys. Like I feel like I've got like supersonic hearing. Go ahead, Ben. I'm like sorry, like
I can hear like this and that and XYZ, and like I definitely feel like I heard like Alan touching Parvati's shoulder, and Parvati's like, what? Lawrence was like, yeah, I know, I heard it for sure. Like,
yeah, I was like I'm really like I feel like I'm like really I feel like known for it. Like
she really does. We tease her for saying like all the time, and I feel like all the time, and she does every time they cut to her. She's like,
you know what? I feel like we're like really good, but like I feel like I need to like be like with Marcus, like, cause like I feel like he's like my friend, you know, like he's like not only my friend, he's like my teammate in my life, like.
Yeah, and there's like, you know, at night they all go to bed and they have like a shot of her like clutching Marcus's photo, like, oh, my boyfriend, like, I love my boyfriend, like.
Well, it actually hit the biggest shock of the show. And I was like, wow, they really are doing a great job with the twists and turns, because I was literally shocked when they showed Larsa reading a book. I almost fell on the ground.
Larsa, I have to say, like having Larsa and Marcus on there, I think that producers were anticipating a whole bunch of like interpersonal issues, or I thought one of them was going to be a traitor, one of them wasn't going to be, or there'd be issues of them standing up for each other. But they got rid of Marcus so quickly, so early in the season. I don't think they ever got to really have fun with that whole dynamic. But that was because Marcus is not bright himself. He suspects Dan because Dan's not saying anything. So he goes up to Dan and he says, I mean, this is not to throw any shade against you, but you have been like really quiet. So people have been wondering about you. Well, don't say that to the guy that you think is the traitor. What do you think is going to happen to you? You're going to get killed right away.
Oh my gosh.
And wasn't there someone sitting with Marcus when he said that to Dan? Like, why didn't anyone say, what's strange? Marcus said this to Dan, and then the next day Marcus wound up dead. I think we should be thinking about Dan. No one ever said, like, no one. It's like, it is hilarious how they don't really put two and two together.
Well, it's so easy for us to see it because we're shown, but probably from their point of view, everybody's accusing everybody. So it's like, well, who
That's
is,
true.
I think when they really get him is when MJ gets on his ass because she says it out loud. I mean, first of all, the women are like, it's a man. The traitor is a man, which the traitor is multiple people. I mean, haven't you seen this before? It's been on before. But they're like, the traitor is a man. That's it. We need to get rid of a man. Who is it? And Lars is like, guys, like, here's like what, guys, like, I feel like we need a plan. And like, here's the plan. Like, I'm going to like figure out who the traitor is. And like, I'm going to get rid of him. I'm serious.
Lars is on the case.
Lars is on it, guys.
But I mean, I was gonna say their decision that like it has to be a man. It was based off of the fact that the people who had been getting killed, well, were men. It was Johnny Bananas, and then Marcus. And it's like two sort of like athletic, strong men. So they're like the only people who'd want to get rid of strong men would be a man, right? And I was like, that. I mean, in life, who knows if that makes sense? But I can imagine in this group. Yeah, like with a bunch of reality stars where everyone wants to be an alpha, all the guys want to be the alpha, that totally makes sense.
I mean, I definitely got that impression from Dan in the first round of Who to Murder. I definitely got that impression from him. With the Marcus, I didn't. I thought Marcus, he was just like, he accused me, so, kill him. But when MJ gets him, it's so good because she doesn't let it go. And I feel like a lot of people on this show, they'll accuse somebody, but if that person is stood up for or gets off the hook, then they all stop because they don't want to look stupid coming after. And she does not care. She's like, no, it's Dan. Like, it's clearly Dan. And Dan tries to stand up for himself. She's like, no, Dan, sorry. And I like that she explains to him, like, the rest of us are putting ourselves on the line by accusing other people or making an effort. And you're just sitting there doing fucking nothing. And that's not fair. Like, you shouldn't get to just sit there and, like, be at peace with everybody and be Mr. Popular because you refuse to do it. And then Dan still doesn't do anything. He still doesn't.
Well, he gives this whole thing about, like, if I want to make a shot, like, I want to make sure that shot counts. And MJ is doing a great job. She's very calm. And Larsa, by the way, is also with her. Larsa's also Larsa's sort of in pitbull mode where she's like, she decided it's Dan, and now she's just going to be like, it's you, Dan. Dan, it's you. You're lying. I can tell you're lying. It's you. But MJ is like, she's laying it out there. She's very calm. I'm like, I'm hoping that MJ might be a breakout on this one. Like, I don't know. I feel like I might curse her because who knows? She could be dead at the top of episode 4. But I feel like MJ for sure like showed sparks that she could be the one to watch on this season. But what bothered me is that MJ and Larsa, especially MJ, are like onto Dan, and they're making a very compelling case. And then Deontay, who I really enjoy Deontay because he seems like a really good guy, he comes in and he totally derails it. So Deontay, after Peppermint is voted off unfairly, he's like emotional.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
I was dying laughing because, well, the first thing, when Peppermint got kicked off, I think, obviously that was extra sad because it was kind of like Trishelle behavior that people should have felt guilty after, right? So he cried after that, which I thought was kind of sweet. But then he's like, it's just not fair because like it's this mob mentality, and then everyone turns against somebody, and I know what it's like to not be like the popular one or whatever. I know what it's like for people to be against you, and I don't like it. And that wasn't cool. So he cries, and you're like, oh my God, poor guy. So then the next one, the next round, he's totally after someone to go the whole time. He's like,
Well, like he does this thing where he's crying. A second later, Max walks into the kitchen, and Max is like, and he's like not saying anything, but he's, I guess, acting weird in Deontay's eyes. And Deontay's like, well, that's all the proof I need. He's acting totally differently, as opposed to everyone else who's acting differently. So now MJ,
for sure. So then he helps turn everybody against Max and does it to him, and then cries again after the next elimination. He's like, oh, can't take
but also it's like MJ is making a very compelling case, but Deontay is like, no, I know what's right. So he basically he stops everything. Because, like, God forbid, like, MJ makes a case. And he does this whole thing, and Max is acting differently. And Max is pretty good about being like, well, what's going on with Janelle and I can see it. So he gets it off of him, but that actually, in turn, makes him look suspicious because he's trying to get attention away from him. But then again, it's like, why is it that when Max tries to get attention off of him, that's a sign of being a traitor? But then when Dan tries to do it, it's not a traitor. It drove me nuts.
Well, I thought the way that I took it was because Max was acting so suspicious. Like he really was walking into every room and then backing out slowly. And when they'd say, Max, are you okay? What's on your mind? He'd be like, wow, hey, Max, what's your opinion? He'd be like, opinion? Me? Why would anybody ask me? He was acting so suspicious. And also I have to say, sorry to go backwards, but Peppermint was too.
I'm about to say we forgot Peppermint's moment.
Because once they all turned on Peppermint's like, well, I can't believe that everybody's accusing me of this. That is not cool. And listen, just because I'm a traitor, and everyone stops and go, did you just realize that you said I'm a traitor? And she's like, come on, guys. I didn't
not a traitor. Which, by the way, I have made that mistake. When I played social deduction games, I've definitely had like a slip of the tongue by accident, and then you're just like, oh, I'm done. Like, because you say one wrong thing, you say something the wrong way, it's like, it's over. No one will ever believe you again. Oh, God, when Peppermint did that, I was like, why Peppermint?
So you referenced a thing where Max, so they're coming after Max now, right? And they're like, okay, Max, it's obviously you're acting so suspicious. And he's like, well, I think it was Janelle because Janelle got in a fight with the girl from Love Island, Ekin-Su. Okay, so that
now we
was another thing. So Ekin-Su, what a dummy. Now, I don't watch Love Island. My question is, so people watch this, these people are all supposed to be fuckable, like highly fuckable people. I guess everyone's fuckable, but I mean, are they supposed to be like processed food, like highly palatable? Because
well, you know what? It's so weird. Being a Love Island fan, seeing Ekin-Su in this environment, and she's like, it's not that she's different. I guess she is a little different, but also in the world of Love Island, she comes in, she's this bombshell, and she was like a manipulator, she was drama, and she was just like a lightning rod, and she's like so good on Love Island. She comes in, but I think it's because that show, you have a lot of like very nice British people being like, I just kind of feel like, like we have some good chemistry, but it's still early days. And I don't know, I want to put him from a chat. But, like if he was interested in talking to Gemma, that's okay too. And then Ekin-Su comes in like someone from Traitors. And it's like, oh my God. But when she is with all these other major reality villains, she does kind of fade into the background, which is just like very rattling for me. But
I'm not look shaming anybody because she's very beautiful.
Not looks, but just
it's like
personality.
Because the other one is Bergie, so both of them just come off as like, I don't know. I wouldn't think like
Bergie,
sex bombs. Both of them like sex bombs, But I don't watch it. But she was cracking me up because she's describing herself to us, and she's like, "I'm Ekin-Su, and people think I'm just all beauty, but I'm brains. I've got a lot of brains. Like, for example, I believe in aliens."
It's like that's...
And what was her other thing that she...
That was like the big one. She's like, I believe in conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
I was like, I don't know if that's what you're going to use to support that thing. Her background is that she's a soap actress, actually. She's a
that
Turkish.
makes sense.
She's a Turkish soap actress, and then she got cast on Love Island UK. Bergie is on American Love Island. I haven't seen this season, so I can't talk about him.
Commercials. Here comes one right now.
What we were going to talk about with her is that they're doing a challenge and they're finding one of these shield things. And the way they made it look is that Janelle found a shield in a coffin and she was getting it. And then she kind of pushed, what's her buns? Ekansu goes for it at the same time and Janelle wrestles it, kind of like snatches it away from her. But it did look like Janelle had it first, right?
It did. It definitely did. But I was actually happy for this because I felt like Ekansu, like, I was like, God, American audiences aren't going to see like the true like joy of Ekansu. And I was like, oh, good, they're finally going to get to see a glimmer of her because, you know, now Janelle and Ekansu are both like squabbling over who had it first. And Ekansu's like, I had it in my hand and she took it out of my hand. And Janelle's like, I had it first, bitch. Janelle, by the way, I love that Janelle is still just being Janelle and great. Like every challenge, Janelle just goes directly for the shield. She's like, whatever, I want safety first. I don't care about any of you fuckers. So Janelle is making me so happy. But like this fight with Ekansu and Janelle is also hilarious because it's so stupid.
And I love that they didn't let Max derail the fight by making it about them. They're like, oh, whatever, that's stupid. We'll take care of that later. Max, you idiot, trying to change the subject. You're out. I like that because I feel like it's reality stars and a lot of them are easily, diverted.
It's true. And Max actually got into like a big dust up with CT. I forget why, but like CT was coming at him and CT was like, this is my character you're talking about. And he was getting very feisty. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to CT's very tight jeans. He was crammed in those jeans. Did you notice? I was like, I never realized CT had such haunches. He is a leggy man.
He's got some badonk.
He has badonk.
He really does. He looks so different too. I haven't seen him in years and years. He looks very different.
He was wearing a little cap, like a little page boy cap. He's like a little newsy now.
Yeah, I like his kind of vibe. He's like, why would you get rid of fucking bananas? What are y'all, stupid? Yeah. Like him. And I don't watch any of his shows, but pretty cute. Nice butt. And let's see here. We've already, who have we missed talking about?
Well, we also have Kevin and Peter. So Peter's from The Bachelor. I don't know who he is. And then Kevin is from Bling Empire. And Kevin is not very bright, and he doesn't seem to know what's going on or who any of these people are. He was like, who's he talking? He was talking to Fedra, and he's like, who's Johnny Bananas or something? And she's like, oh, he's from The Challenge. He goes, what's The Challenge? She's like, that's the name of the show. It's like, it's called The Challenge. She's like, yes.
Yeah. And she's like, that's Marcus Jordan. And he's like, who? She's like, come on. Oh, no, that was CT, actually. Wasn't it CT who didn't know?
Was it?
She's like,
oh, maybe.
On.
And then, so Peter and Kevin decided that they're going to fake a feud because that way the traitors will think that if they're feuding, that they will be a shield for them. So they're going to pretend to feud. So then actually in the last vote that we saw where Max was voted off, it was a crazy vote because there were all these votes everywhere, but Kevin actually wound up with 2 votes because Parvati actually voted for him too. And she's like, I don't know. I just decided to vote on Kevin. So I feel like that's going to have some strange ramification in the 4th episode.
I really love that Parvati's last name is Shallow. That's so funny. I love when people have such like clear names. Okay, so Kevin is kind of a himbo, right? And Peter Weber from The Bachelor. Oh my God. Well, first The Bachelorette, and then he was The Bachelor. He was on JoJo's season and then had his own mess of a season. He has the mom, Barbara, who's in love with him. She's like, how could this girl do this, Peter? Peter, we love her. We love her. She's like sobbing. She's like, please pick her. He's a pilot. And he's like a little boy. He gets away with everything by just acting like a little boy. But God, he really is kind of a dumb little boy because Kevin get along. And Peter's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Okay. So I'm going to pretend I think you're the traitor. And then you are going to pretend that I'm the traitor. And then nobody is going to think that we're traitors. Boom. Boom. He literally does that. And they're like, okay, guys, that's not the worst plan. But you need to wait until... You can't do that every week. It doesn't make sense. Everybody is literally after two people in this final scene where they're like, we're either going to get rid of Max or we're going to get rid of, who is the other person? I forget. Dan. And it's really serious. And they're all like, Max, I choose Dan. I choose Max. I choose Dan. I choose Max and Max. Peter, what do you think? He's like, Kevin.
I know. Everyone's like, what? And then how confused must they have been when Parvati also voted for Kevin? They're like, wait, whoa, okay.
Parvati's smart though, because I'm never going to stop calling her Parvati, by the way, but Parvati is smart because she acted like she was going to choose Dan. She wrote
she
D.
did. I
and
love
then
that.
She crossed it out and she wrote Max.
That was really good.
Or whoever, Kevin or whoever. Very, very smart. So then they had another fun thing where they got a letter. The traitors got a letter, and it said that they have to poison someone with a poison chalice. So this means that they have to pass off a glass of wine and have someone drink it, and it works as a slow-acting poison.
Right. So the first thing is that they've got to find the chalice, which is like hidden inside a book in the library. So they are like trying to do it in a way that like they don't get caught. So they're sort of holding cover for each other. And then they get it. And so they decide that like the people that they are thinking about killing are either, they want it to be a woman this time. And it's going to be either Sheree, MJ, or maybe John, right? I think John was the last option, the British guy. And so I'm already like, don't kill MJ. Don't you dare kill MJ. Because I'm nervous because MJ, obviously we love MJ, but on top of that, MJ's onto them. So like, I don't want them to get rid of MJ. And they also know it's dangerous to get rid of MJ because MJ called Dan out. So it'd be very obvious. But so then the thing is they have to like get this chalice to someone. So there are a bunch of people like hanging around the bar. And so they're going to, Parvati is going to be the one to hand the chalice off. So she's going to like, try to give it to Sheree, but Fedra's next to Sheree, and Fedra's like, listen, I'll kill anyone, but I'm not going to let Sheree die under my watch. I think she's like, I'm going to let Sheree last a little bit longer. So now Parvati has to find someone else.
Yes, and she's kind of being obvious, but in her defense, how can you not be? I mean, everyone's standing around talking and you're trying to slip somebody a glass of wine. So we don't find out who gets that wine, right?
But what was so great about it is that she's like, this is like that classic suspense film where something's poisoned and you're waiting for someone to drink it and like, are they going to drink it? So it's like, it looks like it's going to be for John, and then he doesn't do it. Then Sheree, but then Fedra's there. So she goes into another room and MJ's sitting there. So she's next to MJ. I was like, no, not MJ. And then MJ has her own glass. So MJ just drinks her own thing. So Parvati's just sort of like wafting around, and she has this vibe that's like very much like, I'm going to kill someone right now. I can't wait. And then she tells us, it's really hard to isolate someone. I don't know who it's going to be. I'm looking around, and then I see my victim, and I just come up to them like a little spider, and I go in. And then it ends, and I was like, I was like, how could you do this to me? Question mark. How could they drew me in. They sucked me in, and I was on the edge of my seat, and then they just ended it. And now we have to wait a week to find out. I was beside myself.
Yeah, it really sucked because it was really, really fun to watch. And on Peacock, they make the shows so long, and you really can tell that they're longer. I mean, we definitely notice on Girls Trip, we're like, enough, because mostly because we're taking notes. So we're like, why are my fingers hurting? Like our fingers have timers on them. But this one, at first I was like, oh, okay. Especially when they get to the challenges. I'm like, not necessarily here for all the challenges, but
they're fun.
It moved so fast. And by the time it ended, I was actually upset that I didn't have more to watch. And that's rare for a reality binge for me.
Last season.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, last season, everyone was like, how could Peacock drop these all in one day? It's so not fair because there were spoilers. And now their Peacock is putting them out weekly. And we're like, Why doesn't Weekly Peacock have them all out right now?
I'm glad they're doing it like this because it gives it a chance to build, because people really do give it away in 2 seconds. I mean, you go on Twitter the morning after this is aired, and it's really hard to not be spoiled. So
I was upset because I watched all 3 episodes, so I thought there's no spoilers for me. But there was kind of a spoiler that I guess NBC, I mean, I guess it's not a spoiler because NBC is promoting it actively. And I basically, I'm not going to say it necessarily here unless, like, if you're open to it. But, like,
oh, no, I don't want a spoiler. I'm not going to give a spoiler. Unspoiled, which is rare.
Like, I fast forwarded all the previews. And I was upset because Entertainment, like Dalton Ross on Entertainment Weekly was like, Entertainment Weekly can now confirm that this is happening. And then People was like, NBC is also, like, NBC released like a press release to hype up something. But I'm like, I wanted to be surprised by that. I can't believe.
That's not good. That's not cool.
I can't believe that NBC was, rather than having us all be surprised, I'm like, holy shit, they're using it to get more publicity around this. But I'm like really upset about like finding out about that. And it's like, just nowhere safe.
That sucks. All right, well, let's do something real quick and pick our final 3. Who do you think's going to win this? Because it basically, we don't know how it's going to end. We don't know how many traitors are going to be left and how many people are going to win. I'm going to say Fedra's going to win.
I feel Fedra seems really good at this. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like the Faithful are going to win this year. And I feel like the final 3 are going to be like a strange combo. It'll be like Sheree, Larsa, and like Bergie. I think they're actually giving Bergie a really good edit. Like he's like trying to, like they're giving him the edit of someone who's trying to grow. And so that makes me think that he's going to make it to the end and he might win the whole thing.
Okay, I'm going to say my final 3 are going to be Fedra, CT, and the chick from Survivor. What's her name? Not Parvati, but
Sandra.
And then I'm going to pick Fedra as my winner. And then who do you want as your winner? Bergie?
I think Bergie will win the whole thing.
Oh my gosh. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
What a dope that guy is.
Well, he would share it. If he's faithful, I think he would share it with like maybe Bergie and CT actually. Maybe or Bergie.
Why would it be 3?
Well, because the way it would work is that the faithful, if it gets down to more traitors than there are faithful at the end, then the traitors will win, right? But if it gets down to 2 traitors, 2 faithful and 1 traitor, like it just always has to be more faithful than traitors to win, I think. I don't
remember exactly how it ended. I remember that it was 2 traitors at the end last time. It was a guy from The Bachelor and Suri. But then I was like, Siri, oh my God, she's done so good. Suri, but then she ended up turning on him at the very last minute. And he was like, I'm not going to do that. Go ahead, just take it. And so he basically left. He just like
quit.
He's like, I'm already a villain from The Bachelor. I'm not going to be that here. If that's important to you, have fun. So he just kind of left. And then how was a winner determined? I don't remember.
So Andy and Quentin, it was a whole thing where it was like they were the final 4 and they could either like take the money and proceed or like throw some sort of thing in the fire, and that meant that you thought there were still traitors. And so then when it came down to Andy, Quentin, and Suri, Alan Cumming was like, do you still think that there are traitors amongst you? And they said, no, we're all the good. It was just, and they locked it in, right? Okay. So I guess there could, you know what, you're right. I guess there could still be one singular winner, because if it comes down to like 2 traitors and 1 faithful, and the faithful's like, I still think there's traitors, then they can still point the fingers and I think eliminate a traitor. I don't know.
I don't remember exactly, but okay, so those are our predictions. Your final 3 are Sheree, Larsa, and Bergie, with Bergie winning. My final 3 are Fedra, CT, and Sandra, with Fedra winning. So Time will tell, but this has been fun. Thanks everybody so much for being with us. We'll be back next week with some Below Deck Med, so don't worry about that. It's going to be the season finale of that one. We also did a Southern Hospitality recap this week, so go check that out. And there's also a new Dwell Hello coming out this week, so Wondery Plus people, check that out. And don't forget to go get tickets for the Golden Crappies February 17th. Find ticket links, Patreon links, video links, bonus links, all of that stuff over at watchwhatcrappens.com. Hi.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Watch What Crappens would like to thank its premium sponsors. Ain't no thing like Allison King.
Ashley Savoni, she don't take no baloney.
Stroll in the park with Caitlin Clark.
She's not just a Sheila, she's a Daniela. Itchels. Aaron McNicholas, she don't miss no trickolas. She's never scary, it's the Green Fairy. Jamie, she has no last namey.
Hava Nagila Weber. Know your worth with Jason Kurth.
She's the wind beneath our Jennifer Wing.
Sip some scotch with Jessica Trotch.
She's always supplying, it's Kelly Ryan.
Kristen the Piston Anderson. Let's give a kisserino to Lisa Lino. Megan Berg. You can't have a burger without the Berg.
The Bay Area Betches.
And our super premium sponsors.
Somebody get us 10 cc's of Betsy MD.
We're taking the gold with Brenda Silva.
Let's get real with Caitlin O'Neill.
Don't get salty with Christine Pepper. Can't have a meal without the Emily Sides.
Nobody holds a candle to Jamie Kendall.
She's not harsh, she's Jill Hirsch.
She's a little bit loony. Junie. My favorite Murdo, Karen McMurdo. We love him madly, it's Kyle Pod Shadley.
Let's go on a bender with Lauren Fender. We want to hang with Liz Lang. The incredible edible Matthews sisters.
Give him hell, Miss Noel.
She's the queen bee, it's Sarah Lemke.
Shannon, out of a cannon, Anthony. Let's take off with Tamla Plain.
She's quite the catch. It's Victoria Cotchett.
She ain't no shrinking Violet Kuchar. We love you guys.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Watch What Crappens ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today. Or you can listen ad-free with Wondery Plus in Apple Podcasts. Before you go, tell us about yourself by completing a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.